In this video, I want to tell you how to use Chat GPT to design a teaching plan. And for this, I'm going to use the book of a dear colleague from Galileo University in Guatemala, Miguel Morales, who has written a book called Discover the Power of Chat GPT in the Classroom, 90 Templates to Create Effective Prompts for Teaching. This book can be found here online, and it only costs €7. Right now, I'm going to show you all the web page where you can buy it and watch a presentation video. Well, what I'm going to do now is to explain what is the book all about, what can we find in it, and how can we apply its contents. Let's see. If you want, you can do it on your own, or if you find it interesting, you can also buy the book, so you don't have to spend any time thinking up the prompts, because in the end, what Miguel has done, that I have it right here in this PDF. What Miguel has done is think about the prompts, that is to think about how to properly ask ChatGPT about several things like making the curricular design of a subject with the proper learning objectives, course syllabus, course description, and learning planning, among others. In other words, he has basically condensed how to ask ChatGPT the plan of a class, the structure of a presentation, ideas to get the class started, and then how to generate didactic materials, for example, scripts for educational videos, podcasts, mind maps, and infographics. As it is obvious, ChatGPT will only give you a text output. It will not give you an infographic or mind map, but it can give you the structure needed in order to make one. In fact, for the mind map, you can feed the text output to an external tool, and it will generate the mind map for you. Miguel has gone as far as generating prompts for interactive games, scenarios for simulations, learning activities, exercises to complete spaces, discussion and reflection forums. As you can see here, web quest, escape rooms, the design of evaluations, questions, rubric, feedback. As you can see, it is very, very complete. There are up to 90 of these prompts for ChatGPT. So, let's take a look at some of these so that you can get an idea of how to ask these questions. The first thing it tells you is that you have to take into account, which is what we always say about the limitations of ChatGPT, because even though it is a great assistant, we can't always trust it 100%. We always have to check what it does. Then, Miguel proceeds to give us a series of indications about how to make these prompts. Define a clear objective. Keep the message concise. Use natural language. Avoid ambiguity. Provide context, as you may need to redo the question, etc. Miguel also encourages us to iterate until we get what we want. He then recommends avoiding open questions, taking into account the tone and the language used in the conversation. For example, you can ask ChatGPT to answer as if it was an expert, or as if it was a 5-year-old, or even to explain it to an audience in an informal way, and he will adapt the style accordingly. In addition, we should also make sure we are using the correct specific words, phrases, and technical terms on top of review our message and iterating. So we ensure that the answer of the prompt is going to be as close as what we were looking for in the first place. On a last note about the book, it also provides us with some key verbs that make up for a fantastic prompt. Some are better than others, but several examples would be to clarify, argue, change, combine, compile, check, etc. All in all, the book is a great tool for crafting effective and useful prompts that we could later use in the classroom environment. In the book, Miguel also briefly mentions how to craft sequential prompts by chaining one result to the other. Some other types of prompts would be the conditionals, comparatives, and argumentative. What I actually wanted to show you all before finishing this lesson was for us to take a look at some actual prompts. For example, this one, let's see. Generating generic ideas for learning objectives for a course. So it goes as it follows. Write up 5 learning objectives for a course on the subject matter of educational innovation. Okay, so here it says that we can improve the results by taking into account the previous recommendations mentioned. And it is here where we can find a more objective prompt with its template. Write learning objectives for a course taking into account the 6 levels of cognition of Bloom's taxonomy. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So write an expected outcome using Bloom's taxonomy for the cognitive level. Here is an example. Write a learning objective using Bloom's taxonomy for the cognitive level. Create related to the topic of educational innovation that includes a performance criterion that demonstrates the ability to apply concepts and tools of educational innovation in a specific project. Very well. In order to do that, the author advises us to use the following structure. action verb, plus cognition level, plus context, plus performance criteria. Great. So here we can find an even more refined version. Let's take a quick look at some of the prompts that it has to generate infographics, even though I don't want the video to drag on too much. Let me zoom in a bit so you can truly appreciate it. Here we have it. Get a structure and general recommendations for creating an infographic on a specific topic. Perfect. So now let's take a look at the overview of the template for this one. Describe an example of how information on a topic on issues related to technology and education could be presented in an infographic, highlighting the most important aspects. And now it even has a more detailed version. Act as an infographic designer and create one about artificial intelligence in education. Use the title Learning in Times of GPT. Use clear and concise text, impressive graphics, and reliable fonts. Here we have another example. Create an infographic on educational innovation. How would you conceive it? I would want to include a catchy title, explanatory text, representative graphics, and verifiable sources. Present a proposal. Alright, let's now go to quickly see a prompt example for an educational game generation. This will be our last example of today's lesson. Generate some examples of educational games that could be used in an educational technology course. Make sure the games are interactive and designed to help students better understand key educational technology concepts. It is also important that the games are fun and engaging for students. Well, as you can see, we have more or less seen many different recommendations with a series of prompts to achieve specific objectives related to planning a subject or teaching an activity. In Miguel Morales' book, you will find 90 more prompts for all those aspects that we have been talking about. With the examples seen in today's lesson, paired with the guidelines and recommendations I have given you, you should be able to start generating very useful prompts yourself. You can also experiment and improve them, or if you prefer, you can also get your hands on the book for a faster approach. I hope you found this class useful. See you in the next one.